Oh, hi, it's Dan Cross. I thought I'd show you this Google spreadsheet that I made. It is for the creation of simple monsters. And in the Eldritch RPG, when you have creatures other than full-fledged, whether it's a player character or NPC, then they use a simplified stat block. I'll show you. So here, I have several categories of threat that an opponent can have. Melee, natural, which is like fists and kicks and so on, horns, whatever. Ranged, whether they're throwing a rock or firing a light crossbow. And magic. Magic could be anything from learned spells to innate magic or even dragon breath. All of these creatures start with a basic D4 ranking, which is the lowest. If I was to create a small army of goblins, I would just use this. Down here you'll see that hit points is the top threat rank for any minor creature, and that's the maximum value. So like if I changed the melee from a D4 to a D8 because it's the chieftain, then the base hit points for such a minor creature is 8. If I increase any of the others, it doesn't make any difference. It's just the max value for that. I can also change its nature or its size. So if I want to make it a magical creature by nature, then I would choose that modifier, and that would give it a base hit points of 12, and so on. For size, if I wanted to make it a large creature, I would change it to large, and then I would have a modified hit points of 16. So you see how that works, and it's all done for you on this. I'll also reset it back to mundane nature and of medium size. Now, standard creatures, they always have at least one branch with 2 dice. So if I had like a war chief of the humanoid legion or whatever, I could give him 2 die 8. Then I'd go down to the standard hit points, and as you can see, that adds up all of the threat dice. So it would have a base of 32. If I made this creature large, then it would have a 48, and you can go on from there. Like if it was a gargantuan creature, you would have 80 hit points. Also on this, you can choose if it has a distribution making it tougher or faster, effectively splitting its hit points into an active and passive hit point pool. If I had it to be tough, then this guy would have only 4 active hit points and 12 in the passive. This can matter if you're trying to affect a creature with poison, for example, because you have to get through its active defense first. It can also help when determining if you actually use armor rolls for creatures like this. Then you can determine when to use the armor roll, because you don't roll armor if the active defense is not bypassed. Or if it makes the combat go faster, you don't have to use those dice for armor. You can just give it a bonus to hit points or some static damage reduction. Those are all options. So if it was an extraordinary creature or a legendary, then I could add yet another die. So let's say this is an extraordinary humanoid orc monster chieftain, whatever, and it has up to 24 points in a single strike in its melee, so whenever it's using a weapon. And if it punches you, you could say it has a 2 die 6, and in ranged it's pretty skilled with a 2 die 6, and then in magic we can give it a die 6 plus a die 4. They don't all have to match, I just usually do that for convenience. And it automatically calculated the hit points here. And that this guy, I can make him fast instead, so he's got 22 active defense points and 7 in his passive. If I made him large, you can see it does all of that. So it's that simple. And down here you see all of the stats are laid out. And then if you want a stat block, you can just come right over here and cut and paste it right out after everything is calculated. Here you'll see like this monster would be a standard. Well, actually extraordinary, but I can do a drop down for that too. But anyway, fast constitution, large size, mundane in nature, 3 die 8 for his threat ranks in melee, 2 die 6 for fists, kicks, or bites. 2d6 in ranged if he's throwing rocks. And then some form of magic harm spell, perhaps, or other. Hit points here, 87, or if you use the split for determining when armor comes into play or when other effects that would only activate when getting through to the fortitude, then it's all there for you. DR, damage resistance could be rolled armor, natural armor, hide, whatever. And saving throw is ST here. So if the creature is trying to resist either some sort of social skill roll or a magic affliction spell or something like that, then depending on circumstances and the concept of the creature, you can roll this. And then PR for prowess, I might change that to just initiative for creatures, but it's a D10, so that determines its battle phase as well as any kind of opposed roll if it's facing off against something of the same rank. And that usually only happens if it's full-fledged, but anyway, I digress. Weapons, armor, and treasure. So that is in the core rules. Large trove is one option, so you can choose many different options. And that's all there is to it. Thanks for watching. I'll provide the link in this post.